All right, Geometry A folks, we're working on a quiz here. This is Parts of Circles version 1. In this video, I think we're just going to cover problems number 1 and 2. So what we're doing here is we are going to find the area and the circumference or perimeter of each shape. So I'm just going to jump right into the formulas, and then I'll try to explain a little bit as we go, but maybe you know the formulas already. So number 1, we have a semicircle, which you might also call a half circle. And the formula for area is very simple. If you know a full circle, the area of a full circle is pi times radius squared. So you have a semicircle, you have half a circle. That just means you get half of the square units. You get half of the area. So it kind of goes back to like the triangle and trapezoid formula where you have a half. So however you like to do that, multiply by a half, multiply by 0.5, divide by 2. But that's our formula. Then the thing to realize also here is that this 24, this would be the diameter. The diameter would be 24. So the radius just going halfway would be half of that 24, which would be 12. Oops, half of that. So we got a radius of 12. So for doing our formula, we got 1/2. We're going to use 3.14 for pi, and then our radius of 12, and then that is being squared. And let's grab the calculator and let's do that. So I'm going to put 0.5 on the calculator as I use this. So 0.5 times pi is 3.14 times the 12 squared. That all equals 226.08. 226.08. And that would be square feet for our area. There we go. So again, especially if you get to use your formula sheets, just making sure you're plugging in the correct number. The 24 is the diameter, not the radius. Radius is half the diameter. But otherwise, we're just doing half of the full area, half the area of the full circle. Perimeter is perhaps a little more difficult because if you think about it, you get half the perimeter or half the circumference of the full circle, but then you also have to cover the diameter again. When you're doing the full circle, the diameter is not part of the outside, not part of the perimeter of the circumference. But when you have a semicircle, this diameter, this 24 feet, is going to be part. So besides half the circumference, we also have to add in the diameter. So full circumference is, in this case, I'll use pi times diameter. But for a semicircle, we said we're going to do half of that, but then also we're going to add in the diameter to cover for that newly exposed part. So we get to use the 24 for this, so it's 1/2 times 3.14 for pi times 24 for the diameter, and then plus 24 for the diameter again, getting that diameter a second time. So let's go to the calculator with that first part there. I'll break it into pieces here. So the half, 0.5 times 3.14 times the 24, that's 37.68. 37.68 there. Oops, we got it there. All right. Throw in some equal signs here. 37.68. And then plus 24, I should be able to do this in my head. I believe that's going to give us 61.68. Let's just double check that. Plus 24, 61.68. There you go. And so that would be your perimeter. That in this case, that would be measured in feet. But yeah, again, it's that, it's real tricky with that perimeter. That's a tough one. So if you get to use a formula sheet, make sure you got that written down. You can think through it, but it's sometimes just easier to have it written down. Let's do number 2 here. Number 2, we have a quarter circle. You might rephrase this and say it's 1/4 of a circle. A quarter. So if you imagine you had your circle, but you cut it into 4 equal pieces, and it looks like in this case we're getting that bottom right piece there. So again, if you just have the formula for it, area once again is very easy. If you found the full circle area, it'd be pi times radius squared. But in this case, we're going to multiply it by 1/4. Now that is exactly the same as 0.25. For those of you that want to do that on the calculator, or instead of multiplying by 1/4, you can divide by 4. Those are all the same here. But in this case, the 18 centimeters, that would be from the center of the circle to the edge. So that is your radius. So we have 1/4 times, we'll use 3.14 for pi, times the radius of 18 centimeters, and we are going to square that. So let's see what the calculator says for that. Scoot this over. So I'm going to do 0.25 as an exact value of 1/4, multiplied by 3.14, multiplied by 18 squared, and that all gives us 254.34. 254.34. All right. And that is our area. That'd be in square centimeters. Great. So then perimeter, circumference. Once again, it's a little more difficult. If you're talking about, we're going to cover this part of the circle, you go, well, that's 1/4 of your full circumference. Instead of going all the way around, you only went 1/4 of the way around. So you got right here, this is 1/4 of your full circumference, but then you're not done going around that shape. You'd have to cover this part and this part here. So that would be a radius and another radius. So the formula, if you don't have it written down, you maybe want to get it. I'll do the 2 times pi times radius here instead of the diameter formula, but we're going to do 1/4 of that. So 2 times pi times radius is a full circumference, full perimeter. We're only doing 1/4 of that, but then remember we got these newly exposed radii. So we'd have to add the radius twice, whether you want to say plus the radius plus 2 times radius. You might go, hey, 2 times radius is the diameter. I'm just going to write it this way here. So we'd have 1/4 times 2 times, we'll do 3.14 for pi, times our radius is 18. But then we're going to add in the radius 2 more times. So let's see, what do we get on the calculator with that? 0.25 for 1/4 times 2 times 3.14 times that 18 gives us 28.26. I'll jot that down. So this equals 28.26 plus 18 plus 18. Let's see, I should be able to do that in my head, but I'm just going to go to the calculator with that. 36 is at 64, 64.26 plus 18 plus 18, 64.26. There you go. That would be in just regular old centimeters. Yeah, so just make sure you're very careful using the correct formulas, using the correct numbers, and yeah, we'll do another video to finish the rest of this one. We'll see you in the next video.